Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Our Stony Acres. Welcome to our YouTube channel. While you're here, please make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you get noticed when we release more great gardening videos like this. So as you can tell, it's still winter time, kind of moving into the late winter now, and it's cold, so I'm in here in the garage. But I wanted to talk to you today about growing seedlings indoors. And as what we're going to cover is some of the easiest seedlings for you to start indoors. This video is meant for those of you that are kind of just getting started with your seed starting adventure and you want to have some success, some good success. Okay, so here's my first tray of seedlings, and actually there's a few of these that are going to be on our list, but I've got some onions going here, a little celery coming up, lettuce, and a bunch of different kale. And so we're going to talk about, not all of these are going to be on the list. Onions definitely is not, and neither is celery. But we've got 8 that we are going to talk about today that are pretty easy for you to get started on your own indoors and growing them either under lights or even maybe in a windowsill. These should do pretty good. Okay. All right. So we've got 2 flowers, 2 herbs, and 4 vegetables that I think are the easiest to grow indoors. So let's hit the list. And I brought our seed packages with us so that we can take a look at these. First on the list is a flower, and it's marigolds. Now, marigolds are a great flower to plant in your vegetable garden because they repel some pests, and they're also attractive to our pollinators and some of our beneficial insects as well. And so marigolds are a great one to have. I love the orange and the yellow colors of marigolds. They readily self-seed, and they're very easy to get started indoors. Not a lot of effort. You're just going to plant them in a little container, and they transplant well and do really, really well. So a good one to get started for a flower to be starting indoors. And then the second one is also a flower, and that is zinnias. Now, zinnias don't have quite the same magical effect of marigolds in like repelling pests, but they are great for attracting pollinators because they're bright, flashy colors, big flowers, and so that will bring the pollinators into your garden. And so they're a great one to have growing in your vegetable garden. And again, very easy to grow indoors. These are kind of no-brainers, don't take a lot of effort to grow, and so you should be able to get those. Now, both marigolds and zinnias, you are going to want to start about 4 to 6 weeks before your first frost. These are both frost sensitive, and so you need to plant them at a time where by the time they're ready to go out in the garden, your last chance of frost is gone and things have warmed up. So 4 to 6 weeks usually before that last frost date in the spring is when you're going to want to plant these. Okay. All right, let's move on to our vegetables. We've got broccoli, first one on the list. I've always thought that broccoli is a pretty easy one to grow. Things like Brussels sprouts and cabbage, even kohlrabi, are a little fussier to get started indoors, but broccoli always just seems to go for it. And so great one to start. Again, this is going to be an early spring one, and you're going to plant this usually about 10 weeks before your first frost, so that you're setting it out somewhere around 4 to maybe 2 weeks before your last frost. I'm sorry. But a good choice. And so find that frost date and target about 8 to 10 weeks before that last frost date, and that's when you're going to plant broccoli. Easy to care for, grows well with all the other plants. And then in the same family, we have kale. And I actually have kale. These 4 trays right here, and I'll do a close-up, are all kale. And they're about ready to be thinned. But kale is just a no-brainer. It comes up really well, and you can plant it indoors. It's a good one to get started early because they're hardy. They can go out early. They love to grow in hoop houses and cold frames early in the spring, and will stand up well to frost. And so just a really good choice. And they're simple to grow indoors. Don't need a lot of care, and away you go. So they're just a great one. Another one that is really easy to grow is lettuce. A lot of people don't grow lettuce from seedlings. They'll just put the seeds out in the garden, which is great. The reason why I like to grow at least a little bit of lettuce indoors is because it makes for a really nice finished product, especially when we're talking about like head lettuces, like romaines or butter crunch or even an iceberg lettuce. It lets you kind of control things a little bit better. You can thin it down to one plant as they grow. You can choose the strongest of the plants in each of the packs, and it kind of gives you this nice finished you know, grocery store worthy product when you're all finished up. And they're super simple. Don't need a lot of care. Just a little bit of water, you know, every few days, and they're going to do great starting under lights. And then the last one, believe it or not, is actually tomatoes. Tomatoes are fairly easy to start indoors, and a really good choice for someone that is starting new. Now, I prefer to grow my tomatoes in like a bigger pot like this one instead of these 4-packs, because if you put them in the 4-packs, you're going to end up having to transplant them out. Now, that's not a big deal because tomatoes don't mind that like some other plants might. Tomatoes are pretty good for transplanting, but you know, I just like to put them in there and then I don't have to fuss with it later. But tomatoes, great option for you for starting indoors. And then 2 herbs I have for you as well. Parsley. Parsley just does really, really well. It's frost tolerant, not completely frost tolerant, but can be planted before your last frost in the spring and will still, you know, survive if there happens to be a little bit of a frost nip at it. And it grows really well indoors. Now, it's a little bit slower to germinate, so don't panic. It takes a little bit longer than some of the others. You know, your kale or your lettuce or your tomatoes will come up before your parsley does. But, you know, great option, easy to grow, very versatile plant for cooking and just a good option. And then the last one to start indoors is basil. And basil is pretty simple. It grows really well. I've never really had much of a fuss with basil growing indoors. Transplants well. Now, it is frost sensitive, and so you're going to have to wait 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost is when you're going to plant these indoors. But basil, another great option for you. Okay? All right, so that is our 8 crops. Again, marigolds, zinnia, lettuce, kale, tomatoes, broccoli, basil, and parsley. All of those are pretty simple plants to grow indoors in you know, a little situation like this, or if you want to put them in a cup in your windowsill or whatever. All of those options are going to be a really good chance for you to kind of get your feet under you as a new seed starter. And so I would recommend you take all of those, and they're also all yummy crops that you're going to like to have. All right. Okay, so that is all I have for you for this week. I did want to mention that if you would like to learn more about seed starting, I do have a seed starting master course that you can join. It's called Seed Starting Simplified, and it's on the Online Gardening School, which is our sister website. And down in the description below, there's a link that will take you out to that course, and it's actually a $5 discount on the course. If you follow that link, it'll give you $5 off. So click that link down below, and that will take you out to the Seed Starting Simplified Master Course. And a great course, about 2 hours long, takes you through the whole process, teaches you how to start your own seedlings indoors. All right, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. My subscriber numbers are just growing and growing, and we're fast approaching 70,000 subscribers, and you guys are just amazing with your comments and everything. Thank you for your kind comments, and you know, if you've got ideas for me, videos that you'd like to see, please leave those down in the comments below. And like this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, because that helps us in the algorithm, helps us to teach more gardeners what to grow. And then make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks, guys. Happy gardening.